Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited for this particular episode, and I'll tell you why. Because you talk about somebody that I wanted to have on the show for quite some time, and I think he has, like, by far the toughest tagline on Instagram. My guy went from starting flipping houses, now he buys blocks. Real estate developer Chris Senegal is on the show today. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, my brother? Appreciate the invite.
Hey, man, listen, man, you're somebody, man, when it comes to this space, and I was telling you this before we hit that record button, that I genuinely feel as if, like, you're out here trying to help people, and we are understanding what you're saying. So many times people talk, you're like, what do they mean? What do they mean? But Chris, you're the answer to that, bro. But I know people right now are probably Google searching you, clicking the show notes, trying to find out more about you. Take us back. Like, where are you from? Tell us a little bit more about the young Chris growing up.
Yeah, so I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Grew up half there, half in Fort Arthur, Texas. When my parents divorced when I was like 5. Man, I was a teenage dad. I had my son when I was 16, but he's 23, just graduated college. I'm of 5 siblings, bro. I'm the only one to even graduate high school. My brother's in prison, incarcerated for murder. My sisters all ended up getting GEDs, and they work in the medical field now. But I just kind of took my own path. Went to college. Got that good engineering degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do. They said doctor, lawyer, engineer. I said engineer's 4 years. Let me take that route. Did that. Got that good corporate job working for the railroad, and I hated it. I was like, I can't do this for 40 years. So I just started reading books, man, and real estate just kept coming up over and over and over as a way to generate first generational wealth. So that's when I got into real estate in 2008. When everybody was scared of it. I got a bunch of property on sale, started flipping houses, got a mentor, and kind of took off from there, bro.
Ah, man, you know what I like about it, right, is the fact that so many times, first off, shout out to you, right? You talk about it, going through adversity and understanding there's a bigger calling for your life. I want to jump back there real quick, right?
Yeah.
As you're, navigating through life, being the first in your family, right, is important for a lot of people right now listening to this. They're the first person that's going to college, or they're the first person that just graduated. How important was it for you to be the first, but also be good at being that?
Man, what's funny? They talk about parenting having an effect on you as an individual. Both of my parents went to college. My mom had a master's degree. My mom had her own business. So, for me, it wasn't like I was the first in the family. It's just my other siblings chose to do different things. But for me, it was always a natural path. I thought I was gonna get that degree, get that good job, be making 6 figures, and just be set for life. And
Mm.
reality kicked in when I got to college. I was always smart. I was always top of the class. I was a class clown, the smartest kid in the class at the same time. So, school was never hard for me.
You know what's crazy? They did some research, a recent study, I think it was Edison Research, and they said that people that were class clowns were proven to be the smartest people in the class. So it takes skill, right? It takes skill and effort to make people laugh and do it in different ways, man. One of the things that I like about you is that when you think about joining or becoming something, and to you it was engineering, right? It was like, all right, I want to go do engineering, and I want to make this certain salary. But I think you found out really quickly not only that you didn't like it, but you started to look at different industries to leave your job. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So, well, first, what I did was I stayed with my job till 2015, but I got out of engineering specifically because I realized once I got out of school that I needed to know how business works outside of
Mm.
just being an employee in a business. So I went to operations. I started running the freight terminals, managing people that were twice my age, had 3 times as much experience, and made more money than me. Had 300 employees like that, and union employees at that. So it's hard to fire those type of people. Then I
Mm.
got out of that and I went into marketing because now I want to understand, well, how do we bring the money into this business to pay for the operation and the engineering? So marketing and sales, and specifically in the oil and gas sector. And then from there, I got handpicked to be business development. So I was actually going out and finding new sites, which is really development on an industrial level, finding new locations to build rail terminals. So I'm one of the few people that can say I've actually built 3 new rail terminals in the United States. They don't do that very often. So yeah, through all of that, I got real world exposure to business, and that's what I teach people. When you have a corporate job, don't just think about your job. Think about, hey, if I'm going to leave one day, I'm be an entrepreneur. I need to understand why my company has everybody in each one of these roles, what these roles are, and how significant they are to the business. That way, when you get ready to start your own, you know what you need internally or what you can outsource with consultants, so that you have the full package, so that your business is going to be successful. So yeah, but outside of that, I've tried other things. I had a restaurant for a little while. Food margins are 10%. Everybody thinks restaurants are sexy. It's a lot of work. The money is made on alcohol, where you got 300 or 400% markups. I've had a hair salon, hair extension salon. When there was a lot harder to get the supply in the market, but now the market's saturated. It's a tough business to be in unless you're actually a stylist or something. But yeah, but I kept going back to real estate, man, and real estate has held steady for me, and it's been my path, and I'm happy with where everything is.
When you speak, it comes so educated. You probably already know. You probably do it so often, but it comes with stats, right? And I think that's so important to give people those metrics. And what I like about that answer is something that I preach all the time here on this podcast, right? If you have a corporate job or you have a job in general, that doesn't mean you just jump ship. How can you set yourself up? And I constantly keep thinking about, for me, I was a brand manager for huge companies like Target, Macy's, Belk, and those systems, that infrastructure that you speak of, are learning lessons for entrepreneurs to say, okay, I need to maybe have this. Okay, we're
Yeah.
doing a morning meeting. Maybe I need to have a morning meeting with my team. Okay, they're
Hmm.
worried about how they're getting a customer to purchase something. Maybe I should be, taking some of those same traits and characteristics and training and implement it with my own stuff, right? So it's so
Yeah.
powerful that you mentioned that. You said on the
Yeah. And
podcast. Okay, go ahead, bro.
I was gonna add too. Become a consultant in the same thing you do at your job. Like you said, you're a brand manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you quit, change your LinkedIn profile to say small business brand manager, and you can go consult with small companies that need that stuff outsourced, and just charge them. And it could be performance based. Hey, if I get you business, if I help you save money, if this, then I get paid. So that's another source of revenue that you can use from your experience from your corporate job, instead of just throwing it away saying I'm about to go do something in a completely different field.
Oh, that's tough. We're gonna get into that because I like where you're going with that. Let's talk about that real quick, right? Let's switch narratives because you just someone saying right now, all right, Chris, you just gave Shawn some game that I can apply to my business. And for me, Chris, I became a brand manager now of a lot of talent, right? So a lot of talent entrepreneurs, they now come to me for branding themselves, creating shows, connections, and collaborations. But what I like also about is your strategy when approaching LinkedIn as a consultant. So I want to dive a little bit deeper because one of
Sure.
the things that you mentioned in the past on another interview was the ability to do that, to change your title. And I think one of the things you did was you had your title on LinkedIn as like the executive vice president. So now you can
Yeah.
network and move. Tell us a little bit about those strategies because our audience would love
Yeah.
to hear them.
Yeah, so this is all, it's all a psychology play. When you're on LinkedIn, you can position yourself as a subject matter expert just by reposting content related to the industry you're in. And when you do that, you get traction. But when people go to your page, they want to think that you're somebody important. Now, if you say owner, if you say CEO, they're going to assume, oh, small company, just that one person. But give yourself a title that's like executive, but not all the way at the top. And then like, okay, this must be a big organization. Now, if now let's say like with brand management, let's say you're looking for a specific person, a specific role, a specific company. You can type in literally that title, director of brand, director of bookings, whatever, and you can find everybody with that title on LinkedIn. When they go to your page and say, "Who is this trying to connect with me?" They're going to say, "Oh, executive vice president of this company. This is somebody I should connect with." So that way, people below their director or manager, they're going to say, "Oh, damn, an executive wants to connect with me from another company," or if it is another executive, like, "Okay, this is my peer trying to connect with you." So it's all a psychological game. And then when they go to your page, they see you posting industry related stuff. They're like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. And that's how you open a lot of doors for business. They may come to you and say, hey, I actually have an opportunity that I've been looking for somebody like you for, versus you having to always give an ask to like and be very salesy.
Oh man, listen, that's gold right there. Because now what you're doing is that, to Chris's point, you just position yourself to get an opportunity versus saying, yo, I got this, I got that. You want some. Right? It's a completely different ball game, right? I think there's also the aspect of, and I wrote this down, I think our audience should definitely want to hear you elaborate more on this. One of the things you've said before in the past that I think is so important is that when you get into the world of business, right? When you get into the world of business, your best bet is to copy the right cat. What did you mean by that?
So McDonald's created a blueprint. Burger King and Wendy's didn't have to create a new blueprint. There's a drive-through, there's a hamburger, there's fries. Copy the right cat. It's really that simple. Anything you want to do, A school has taught us that we have to be independent. You got to study. You got to come up with it on your own. If you use somebody else's idea, that's cheating. In the real world, you want to do the opposite. You want to get your shortcut to success by seeing failures that people have already made and making sure you don't make those same mistakes and following the success blueprint that they have. Even when I had the hair salon, I had a business partner, and he told me, Chris, you're trying to run this like a corporation. We should run this like a small business. I said, no. You got to understand that corporation was a small business at some point, and it was able to grow because it had these systems in place. We need to copy that model so that we don't stay a small business forever. So you have to copy the right cat, copy the success. Whoever you see being successful, follow that model.
Oh, man, I like this, man, because so many times, right? Imagine the time right now as you're listening to this. Imagine how many times you've wasted a lot of time trying to be somebody new in a certain field when, to Chris's point, all you had to do was add your sauce to it, right? All you had to do was add your sauce to it and to, exactly say, okay, this is what I do a little bit differently, but at the same time, I know the infrastructure I need to follow. Now, let's jump into a whole different topic that you're really, really known for. And let's really, really talk about real estate, right? Everyone wants to jump into it. Everyone wants to start. What would be your biggest advice to somebody right now who has no house, no property at all, but they want to get into this business?
Network with people that are in the business and find ways to partner with them. Find ways to be understudies with them. If they want to use resources, I have a couple of resources where it's like, the real estate blueprint. It teaches you all the different areas of real estate, things people may not even be thinking about. You can make good money being an appraiser. You can make good money being an inspector, or you can just have the company and hire the appraiser and inspector. You can be an investor. You can flip houses. You can have rental properties. You can be a realtor. You take your realtor commissions that you make from sales and use that to invest. There's so many different ways to get into it. You got to just figure out what you like. Go around people that are successful, that they can show you their projects. There's a lot of people that talk. They can show you projects. They can show you closing statements where they made money. They can show you where they've done successful deals. Those are the people that you want to get in circles with, and find the ways to bring value to them. Things that you don't think about that may be outside the box to bring value to somebody. Maybe you're out somewhere, you meet a banker that's a commercial lender or a real estate lender. You're not doing anything right now, but you may meet somebody that has a deal and is looking for a loan. Now, the way you get in with them is, hey, I got this business card from this banker. That may be of value to you. Now you bring value to that person, even though it's not something you actually brought to the table yourself. So yeah, find ways to get in those rooms. Don't ask somebody to take them for coffee. Don't do that. Bring value. Bring value.
Yeah, I like this, right? Because so many people, right? They you say, "Oh, can I take you on a coffee date for like 15 minutes?" I don't know about you, fam, but I ain't trying to sit down nowhere for 15 minutes with a coffee in my hand, especially just to try to figure things out.
Yeah, our time is worth so much more when we're working in our business, and people don't understand that. So I'm actually losing money when I take time to come talk to you. If I want to do it, I want to make sure there's some type of benefit for me out of it, not you just picking my brain. And I'm not knowing if you're ever even going to implement anything that I'm talking to you about.
That part, right? And one of the biggest mistakes, and you said this, one of the biggest mistakes that you made was getting into a business based off of their revenue and not their net profit. So many people, I think there's this thing with entrepreneurship right now where people are glorifying, oh, I made $1 million this month, oh, I made $100,000, or I made $10,000 this week, or whatever it may have you, but they're not really talking about that particular piece. How important is it as you're doing this, as you're creating businesses, as you may be jumping into real estate, how important is it to pay attention to that net profit?
Man, that is the only thing that really matters. And I have this shirt that says, "What that net do?" What that net do? We talking all that noise, but what that net do? Because again, look, the rest of our business, the numbers are very similar to what you just said. We were making $60,000 a month. 45,000 of it came from food, but profit was only 4,500. I got partners, so now for the whole month we working 7 days a week to split $4,500 on the food, and then the 15,000 on the alcohol was really about 12,000 profit. So we split that 3 ways still. So we could say that the business is doing close to $1 million a year, but we making a salary of an entry level job, right? So people really have to think about that. Revenue is nothing. It can cost you $1 million to make $1 million, and somebody can post that they made $1 million. That don't mean nothing. I
Oh
mean,
man.
you know what people's product costs are, what their holding costs are, what their shipping costs are, what their accounting costs are on the back end, what their taxes they have to pay on that stuff. Man, gross revenue is deceptive. It's the most deceptive number that anybody can tell you about when it comes to measuring how successful their business is.
Man, listen, you ruffling some feathers with this one, right? A lot of people talk the talk and they say, "Oh, I did this, I did that." My man Chris is telling you right now. Listen, what that net do? That makes me think about like when I was younger, when I was 14, one of my very first starts in getting to like the marketing space is I became a big nightlife party promoter. Right. And I was throwing parties for people that were graduating. I went off to college at Winston-Salem State University and became a big nightlife party promoter. And that's how a lot of people very first got their glance at me. But what I quickly realized was, after I paid security, after I paid, after I paid the bottle girls, after I paid, all of these different fees to the DJ. I mean, okay, this is cool, walking out with a couple of thousand, but man, I've been talking about this event for the last 2 weeks. And then I
Right,
broke it down to your point exactly. I'm like, yo, hold on. This minimum wage.
right.
And people they glorified, oh, you doing all these events, you doing all this stuff. I'm like, yo, fam, when I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, this ain't no money. So to my
Right.
man's Chris terminology, what that net do, we might have to get some of those shirts, fam.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get some more made, bro.
Hey, but let's talk about it, right? Let's really break real estate down while I have you here. I asked our audience. I said, hey, listen, we got Chris on the show. Like, what are some questions you might have? And we sent this out to all of our audience. Make sure you are not only following us, but make sure in our show notes that you are clicking on to any of our freebies, giveaways, so that you fall into the email list to ask these type of questions. But we asked them, okay, we got Chris on the show. What questions can we ask him about real estate? And one of the top questions was this, and should be a no-brainer for a lot of people. What do real estate developers do? Like, what do they do?
Okay, so a real estate developer is the one that creates anything. You take raw land, and then you turn it into a city, you turn it into a neighborhood, you turn it into a shopping center. That's the developer. The developer is the one that takes a blank canvas and creates something. After that, the builders come in. The builders come in. They can buy the land from the developers and they can do the vertical construction of the buildings. Sometimes the developers do that part too. But the developers say, hey, I see a piece of blank property. I think this is a great site to bring a hotel or bring, a subdivision. I'm gonna make the plans to put the streets in, put the infrastructure in, for the stormwater, for the sewer, for the water that's coming into the houses, the electricity, the gas lines. I got to do all that. I got to do sidewalk. I got to if I'm bringing in trees, if I got to change the soil to make sure they're stable enough for me to build these buildings on. Developer does all that.
Mm.
Developer takes the biggest risk of any real estate profession because you put out a lot of money, a whole lot of money, and it's a long lead time before you can get a return. You don't
Wow.
really make money until the buildings are finished and you start selling stuff, or you start selling the lots to the builders that are the contractors that are going to do that work. Yeah, but that's pretty much what a developer does.
Man, I like this. Guys, right now, he's breaking down the processes. This isn't an overnight thing. This isn't like I'm going to snap my fingers and boom, we're going to have this particular housing right here, right across from this popular place. It takes time. It takes strategy. And Chris is giving that to us today. Here's another question that came through, bro. Can you do real estate deals with no money?
You can do real estate deals without your own money. You're gonna need somebody's money to do deals. Okay. Even if it's the owner of the property. I've done seller financing sometimes where I didn't go to the bank to get the money, but the owner has to agree to let me pay them over time so they actually become the bank. Okay.
Mm.
Other scenarios where I may need some money for a down payment, I can go to one of my friends, a colleague, or somebody that's following me and wants to invest. I'll take their money, and I got to make sure that what I'm buying has enough profit margin to where I can pay them back with a profit, and I can make some money off of it too. That usually works best when you have a team of people that are experts, so that it's easier for you to get money from other people. And this ties into what we talked about earlier too, the copy the right cat. But my success triangle is the three things you need to be successful at anything. You need the knowledge and experience, you need the opportunity, and you need the money. Okay. But what you should focus on is just coming to the table with one of the three.
Mm.
So if you can find somebody with the knowledge and experience and you have the opportunity to go buy a piece of property, then you can go to people and say, hey, look, I got this expert. They've been doing this for 10, 20 years. I found this deal. They say this is a good deal. Do you want to get in on it? If you do, here's how much money I need. That's a whole different conversation from, hey, I found this. I think this is good. Can I use your money so I can figure it out as I go? You know, so it's all about how you position things. So yes, you definitely can't do deals without your own money, but you have to have those other components in place.
Yo, talk about a breakdown, right? Talk about a breakdown. And for people that are writing this down, what were those three components again?
Sure. Knowledge and experience is one. Opportunity is two. And then the money is the third one. And that success triangle goes any type of way. If you have money, go find somebody with knowledge and experience, and y'all collectively go find an opportunity. If you got knowledge and experience, go find somebody with money, and y'all go find an opportunity. If you got knowledge and experience, partner with somebody who's got the opportunity, and then y'all go find the money. So it goes either way. It goes all the way around.
I like that, man. That's the real play. If you was looking for a play, that's the real play, because chances are you have one of those three things. And not only that, Chris is also giving you a strategy to implement that in this space, but also implement that on LinkedIn, also implement that on networking and connecting. I mean, you've been giving us a straight out, flat out masterclass on how to get to the bag the right way with the skill set and the things that you currently have. Which is so important. So, Chris, I want to ask you the question, right? We ask this question to everybody who has ever been on this show. And that is, if you were that person who is about to graduate college, or perhaps, you already got your degree, or you already got a degree at all, but you're asking yourself the question of the show, school's over, now what? What advice would Chris give?
Well, that's funny you say that. I just got through addressing the Texas Southern University seniors on this topic. Be flexible in your approach to what you're about to do. Network. Try to get the job you want. If you don't, do not be afraid to get a job in a different field. Find something else that you like. But also remember this. Try not to be just dependent on that single source of income. Everybody isn't meant to be a business owner, entrepreneur, but everybody should be putting money to work. You should be investing in something so that you are not completely dependent on that job. So find something that you have interest in, whether it's stock investing, whether it's real estate, whatever vehicle it is. Make sure you are putting money to work. And once you do get that job, do like I said earlier, pay attention to the business itself. Don't just think about your single role. Volunteer to go work in other departments. That may even help you get promotion faster when it's time to, when they're looking for somebody with a certain skill set. You can say, well, hey, I've gained this extra knowledge because I took it upon myself to go and learn what other departments are doing. So that is going to be key. Another thing that's very important is what we don't know about. People know about mentors, but when you get a job, your goal, if you want to stay in corporate, you want to get a sponsor. A sponsor is somebody that speaks up for you when you're not in the room. When it's time for promotions, when it's time for the leadership to think about who should have what role and who they want to have a career path plan for, you want to have a sponsor. I didn't learn about this until I was quitting corporate America. I was like, damn, this is a whole different world.
Yo, I'm thinking as you talking.
Yeah. Yep. It's real. Any medium, large company, they do that behind the scenes. They don't tell the base level employees about this process, but every company has that.
Yo, that's crazy. I mean, you talk about crazy balls. I heard a lot, right, from people, and I asked that question. I heard answers. I have never heard nobody say that, right? And bro, I immediately got the flashbacks of when I went after doing all these amazing parties. I went off and I took on these manager roles because everybody had left, and I had all that skill set. Where I was promoted 6 times in 4 years. But I have never heard anyone say the value of having a sponsor. Yes, I was promoted a lot, but having that sponsor who's in those rooms saying, your name is gold is a key. It's the hardest gem I've heard in a long time on this show, bro. And I think people need to walk away. If you don't walk away with anything, you got to walk away with the fact, my man Chris told you need to get a sponsor. And not the one that's going to pay you directly, but someone that vouches for you.
Yes.
That's tough, bro.
Yeah.
So People right now want to know more about you, right? At this point, they want to know, where can I learn from you? Where are you at? What's the social media profile? What do you got coming up next? How do we stay in touch? And how can my audience make sure that we are following what you have out?
Yeah, so my main hub, the social media, is going to be Instagram, Chris Senegal, just ChrisSenegal, just like behind me. And man, you can find me on LinkedIn that way. You can find me on YouTube, but especially on Instagram, you can join my broadcast channel, which is the Block Buyers Club. So what I do every time I have an event I'm speaking at, I post it in there first. There's free tickets, there's first come, first serve in there. If I'm going to do an event or a training, that information's in there. I also post it on my social media, as well as if you get some of the free material in my in my bio link. Of course, it captures your email, so I'll send out email blasts for information on that. I do have a couple of courses right now. The one that's really been doing well is my new construction course. I'm teaching people that flipping houses is cool, but there's a lot of uncontrolled variables in that process the entire time. You don't know what's going to happen when you open a wall up. It doesn't matter how good of a budget you put together. But when you do new construction, there are no unknowns. Okay, you're building everything brand new from the dirt all the way to the shingles on the roof of the house. My last 5 students have made over $100,000 in equity in their homes. Some of them sold. One guy kept his duplex, pulled 41,000 out, still had $100,000 equity in.
Wow.
So yeah, building can be a lot better for people. So I have this course called No Flips, noflips.com. So you can check that out. And like I said, it's going to be a game changer. We know a lot about wholesaling, we know a lot about flipping, but we need to be more in the new construction space too, because that's where a lot of money's made.
Oh man, I'm all for it. You can catch me right now after this interview going to noflips.com. Listen, bro, we appreciate you for having you on the show today. And for those that have been listening, always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.